Okay, so today we're going to talk about famous poets because April is National Poetry Month. I'm just going to list off a few famous American poets. Obviously, there are thousands of famous poets. I just clicked a few who I myself am extremely interested in, and some that I thought that you might also enjoy. So our first one we have is Robert Frost. He was an American poet, and he is well regarded for his realistic depiction of rural life. So like living on the farm, um, more working class, and he also examined complex social themes. Some of his famous poems include Out Out, A Girl's Garden, A Winter Eden, The Road Not Taken, Fire and Ice, and Nothing Gold Can Stay. Our next poet is Emily Dickinson. She was an American poet. She had nearly 1,800 poems published. Her poems centered around themes of love, death, and immortality. Some of her more famous poems are A Little Dog That Wags His Tail, Because He Loves Her, Cat, and I'm Nobody, Who Are You? Next is Langston Hughes. We've talked about him during our Harlem Renaissance. He was a famous poet during that time. His poetry portrayed the lives of working class African Americans. He really centered around the struggle, joy, laughter, and music. He tried to encompass everything that was going on during the Harlem Renaissance to show his readers the really just how African Americans were living their life at that time post slavery. Some of his famous poems are Dream Boogie, Catch, and For Selma. Next, we have Edgar Allan Poe. We've also talked about him before. He's best known for his tales of mystery. He is considered to be the inventor of the detective fiction genre. Some of his famous poems are A Dream, The Raven, To My Mother, and The Haunted Palace. We know that his style of writing is a little bit creepy, so some of his poems are also like a telltale heart, but they are extremely interesting. Next, we have Maya Angelou. She is an African American poet. She is extremely intelligent. She spoke English, French, Spanish, Italian, and Arabic. She wrote 7 autobiographies throughout her life, and she was one of the very first African American women to write about her life. Having African American women actually write about their own lives was something that really didn't happen, and she was able to push through, and she published 7 autobiographies. Some of her famous poems are The Lesson, Remembrance, Million Man March Poem, and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Next, we have one of my favorite, hilarious poet is Shel Silverstein. He's an American poet from Chicago. He is best known for his comedy and children's fiction style of writing. Some of his famous poems include The Invitation, Runnies Heading Rabbits, For Sale, Falling Up, and The Giving Tree. When I was younger in elementary school, I had all of his books about poetry. The illustrations that go with them are also very funny. One of the books that you should check out is Where the Sidewalk Ends. Absolutely hilarious. I love it. And our last poet is Dr. Seuss. He is a famous American poet, also known for children's books. His style that he uses was anaspectic and trochaic tetrameter. That was a tongue twister. Some of his famous poems include Great Eggs and Ham, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Oh, the Places You'll Go, and The Cat in the Hat. A lot of his poems were turned into movies because of how popular they were when they were first published. I'm sure that you've seen some of his movies, The Lorax, The Cat in the Hat.